Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Wednesday, April 30th edition of the Daily Pulse. April's already gone. Who'd have thunk it, gang? 4 months of the year, a third of the year already in the books. But it's been a great year. A lot of stuff happening in the city of Lowell and in the world around it. And of course, we're here on the Daily Pulse every day to cover it. And today we're going to focus on the city of Lowell with my regular Wednesday co-host, former city councilor, former mayor, Bill Samaras, who's off to the left of your viewing device.
Former everything.
Former, the former Lowell
former.
Everything.
As long as I'm still around to say former.
That's right.
We're going to be very careful how we word that.
Yeah, once we say formally of the planet, then I think you're going to stop appearing on this show. We also have the current mayor of the city of Lowell. Mayor Dan Rourke is joining us as well. Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Teddy, good to see you, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning.
Good to see you too.
Good morning.
Teddy, I want to thank you for that shirt today. Yeah, because I look a lot better right now.
Yeah,
So, that's right. I appreciate it.
The former
tried,
mayor and I didn't get the memo.
I didn't get the memo. That's
Dress up day
If I could
here.
wear a shirt from 1974, I would have bought mine. Yeah, but I appreciate the gesture on your part.
Well, you're the only one that has a real job anymore that you have to dress up
True,
for
right, yeah.
to go to work. So Bill and I
That's
live
right.
the retired casual life. So anyway, great to have you here. Interesting city council meeting last night with a potentially hot button issue that popped up. So we want to talk about that, plus a bunch of other stuff happening in the city. We look forward to that discussion with both of you. First, let me thank my Daily Pulse sponsors. You know the dealio, right, gang? Ray Booten, licensed realtor, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both of those states as well. Find them online at realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to our friends at WellPoint. WellPoint is the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members at WellPoint. Your whole health is their whole point. And a reminder, you just have today and tomorrow, if you are insured under the state GIC, to switch your plan, either get a new company, look at WellPoint if you're not already with them, or change your plan in case your circumstances have changed. You only have 2 days to do it. Open enrollment closes tomorrow, May 1st. Are you with WellPoint, Mr. Mayor? Can
No, not with WellPoint.
No, can we? Well, your life
You move in that area? That's
your
right, yeah.
kids are
Right,
going
yeah.
to school now. You may want to explore. You have 2 days left to go.
I've been arguing with the insurance about Zach's wisdom teeth getting taken out. So, yeah, maybe switch is in order.
There you go. I like
Yeah.
it. All right, before we delve into the little bit of a controversy last night and some of the other things happening in the city, some great things happening in the city. Saturdays in May. There's a lot to like about Lowell every month and every Saturday, but Saturdays in May are lining up to be an awful lot of fun. Music all over the city, all over the downtown. On Saturdays, we've got a UMass Lowell graduation on Saturday, May 17th. We've got a whole bunch of other things happening on Saturday, May 10th, Memorial Day weekend on Saturday the 24th, and the city has put on some special programming. They're calling it Experience May in the Mill City. And again, there'll be something special going on every Saturday. But this week, you've got some open studios at Western Ave, some outdoor yoga. I'll see you both there, no doubt. Mill City Melodies, which is live performances, buskers, but happening at different venues throughout the downtown. And then, of course, the annual Points of Light cultural celebration at Ecumenical Plaza. Plus, we got a bonus on Sunday of some open studios. Let me call up that other screen as well there if you want to look at the lineup. There's your lineup for the Mill City Melodies. And I put that up there only because Reverend JJ and the Casual Sinners are at the Athenian Corner Restaurant. So... But Cobblestones, another one of our sponsors here at the Daily Pulse, they've got some music going on. Brood Awakening, Kodo, great new place. Little Delights Bakery right next door to us at the Athenian Corner, I believe. Or no, that's Pizzelle. I got the wrong bakery.
Fantastic.
Great. Oh my Lord, they should not be located near me. That's not a good mix. And of course, you got a little music at the Old Court. So we invite everybody to come to the Mill City, to come to Lowell every day, especially on the weekends, but in May in particular, something special going on. That's been a real focus,
Absolutely,
Mr. Mayor,
yeah. So
of this administration to get people into the city, into the downtown in particular.
Yeah, so I think, as you said, the manager and the council primarily has really pushed this forward, and you have something like May, opening of spring, and nicer weather and the outside seating. it's something that we have pushed to put events like this in place. Last week we had the town and music fair for 3 dates, and this weekend and every weekend in May we have something different downtown. And you talk about the graduations at Middlesex and at UMass Lowell. You're going to bring hundreds of people into the city, some for the first time, and you want to be able to offer them something different. Something that will say, hey, we had a good time. Let's go back there and do it again. So, I think the Department of Planning and Development have done a really good job of outreach to different small businesses throughout the city. We had a mural unveiling just at Simply Kamai a couple of days ago. It was a beautiful mural. It was huge, and it was historic. It was ancestral, and it was really showed off the city and showed off different cultures and backgrounds. And the more we can do that, the better off we are. And I've heard, being the mayor, you get involved in these things where sometimes being a councilor, you're not. And you really, again, you get to meet all kinds of different people and business owners, and the positive feedback that I get from those owners and from the residents has been wonderful.
Yeah, it appears that the city, you got a golden opportunity with some ARPA funds coming in after COVID, and the city has really, besides putting money into parks and outdoor areas and other projects, water, sewer, etc., they made the cultural part of it a big component. And how do you? The question is, I think this is going to be a huge hit, especially if the weather cooperates. How do you maintain this going forward?
Yeah, no. It's what you do is you start small and you get bigger, right? And every weekend can't be the folk festival. So when you do small little events like we have this upcoming weekend and the next couple of weeks in May, you hope that again you're bringing people into the downtown. They have lunch at the Athenian or they're at the Old Court, and they enjoy the atmosphere and the food, and then they come back on a Wednesday or Thursday night. Then they come back again the following month. So you make it part of someone's plans when they go out. And I really do believe in the streets downtown are very clean, and crosswalks are done, and you see police out there walking the beat. So the manager and the team has really they follow the council's wishes and orders to get something like this in place, and I think you see the results of that. And I walked around for a little bit downtown, even on a Wednesday morning. There was people down there, and Little Delights was busy. The Purple Carrot had people inside, sitting down eating. So it's all good stuff, and we're thrilled that it's on the uptick.
Well, I mean, you're making Lowell a destination city.
Absolutely.
I mean, you talk about it, but I mean, if somebody wants to go to Boston, you need to get a loan first.
Just to park.
Just to park, and then a lot of money. It'll cost you a lot of money, and you can have the same, almost similar type activities in Lowell for much less money, and I think a safer environment.
Yeah, and in recent years, downtown is safe. It's well lit.
Yeah.
A lot of the first floor buildings are full. And it all kind of pop up new businesses that are going in there all the time, and it just adds to the diversity of the city, the vibrancy of the city, and it really is. I agree with you, Bill. I think that Lowell is really on the rise.
Yeah, and to me, this also is going to serve as a little bit of a trial run for next year, which is actually the 250th
Bicentennial
anniversary,
yep.
the bicentennial. And from what I understand, basically May is going to be duplicated over 9, 10, 10 months if there isn't a blizzard outside.
From April to October, hopefully, and I know that they've been working very hard, the Case team and others to raise a lot of private funds. And they've raised quite a bit of money so far. Shockingly, a high amount, because people want to be involved. They want to celebrate Lowell. People that have been involved in the city for many, many years, and they want to see us do well. So we're very happy with those partnerships.
All right. Before I get to last night's meeting, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about the manager's contract, which was agreed upon. You negotiated it along with a solicitor. It was voted on last week. The 3-year extension, so now another 5 years of Manager Golden. One of the common criticisms that has been leveled at you for that is you're the manager's cousin. How could you negotiate that fairly, and how come the rest of the council wasn't brought into the negotiations?
Yeah, so that's actually incorrect. The only thing that was voted on the council floor, and the motion was put forward by Councilor Mercia, was to keep the contract the exact same and just to give him 3 additional years. And that's the only change that was made to the contract. It's the only thing I gave to the solicitor to go forward on, and nothing else was different. Nothing else was put in place or taken out. It was just 3 years. Everything stayed the same, whether it be merit or COLA increases. There was no negotiation other than what was told for me to do by the council itself to give him a 3-year extension, and that was it.
So there wasn't really much of a back and forth. It appears from what I've seen, the contract is similar to exactly the same as to what the manager had the first 3 years, and not all that dissimilar from what contracts you negotiated as mayor and prior managers had, right?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to do something that the council didn't tell me to do, right? And it's plain and simple. And if you go back to the meeting, it was Council Mercer who just said we do a 3-year extension, and that's it, no other changes, and that's what was done.
But I think actually it was a smart move to extend his contract, because the thing is, you have the potential for a lot of new construction coming into the city of Lowell. And I've said this before, contractors, developers coming in, they're not interested to see whether us as councilors, whether we're going to be elected the following year, but they want to have an administration that's there, that they can negotiate with, they can work with, and they know down the road the work, the issues that they develop together will stand. That's how business can be successful. So I think you did the right thing.
Oh yeah, 100%. And we this council going back 3 years. When I think Manager Donahue wanted a 1-year extension, and the comments back then were, we want long-term stability in that position, right?
You have to.
And when the vote came last Tuesday, with long-term stability and what you talked about, Bill, and to be put into effect, I think it was, for me, a rather simple vote. All the positive things that the Golden administration has accomplished and what their goals are in the future, and other things that he has done, I think, and he would admit this, he was sitting here, is that the team he has put in place has been nothing short of outstanding. Over the past few weeks, you'll see it going forward, different departments have come in front of the city council to give a quasi report on how things are going and what they have accomplished and what they want to accomplish in the future. Last night we had DDS come in, under our assistant city manager Giovanni Baez-Rose, and you had the building commissioner in there, you had the senior health inspector in there, you had an inspections director in there, and they talked about all the good work that they're doing throughout the city.
But that was good to see, because
right.
I mean, they're almost like a hidden force within the city.
And they're out there on Saturdays, they're out there at night, and they're doing the job that we asked them to do. And then a week ago we had Peter and Caitlin from Parks and Recreation come in, talk about the summer programming and all the work they've done in the past, all the work they're going to do going forward. So it's good to get those updates from time to time, and it just shows off that these people aren't just sitting there behind a desk. They're out and they're doing the work. And
I think it was last night you had said something. There was something about something needed to be done on the street, and you said it was a Saturday, but the city manager happened to be in the area on his usual Saturday going through the city. Yep. But I can recall almost 7 months ago, there was a problem near my street, and several people called. As a former city council, what are we going to do about it? What have you? I said, I'll see if I can get a hold of the city manager. And what happened? He was 3 streets over. He was there in 10 minutes.
Yeah, he was on.
The problem was solved, and that's what people want to see.
I have personally seen him on driving around on Saturdays, and I've seen him on Sundays when the times I stop downtown. I see him. I see the police chief. To his credit, Police Chief Greg Cura driving around with the family. He's dragging his wife and daughters around. I'm like, what are you doing to these people? He's like, I like to check on the city, but I think they do. They're very active in keeping an eye on things. Did I hear correctly last night when you mentioned developmental services and the building inspectors? They uncovered 100 projects, 100 kind of additions or not permitted projects. But wait, was that in the entire city or in Centerville? Did I hear that was just in one neighborhood?
Obviously there are issues throughout the city. I think what Dave Fuller, our building commissioner, was highlighting was the work that they've done in Centerville. Okay. And look at.
So it wasn't 100 people in Centerville who decided to build
whether it's
additions.
Right. Or, again, maybe they're putting up, a guardrail or a deck or, an awning that, needs permanent stuff, right? Or if you're repaving your driveway, curb cutting yourself, so those could be a bunch of different options that, could violate, the law without having a permit. So, and I think it was Council Dakota had asked, what are the ramifications for somebody that is doing the work without being properly permitted, and it's triple the permit fee to get a permit and to backdate it. So, word's getting out. They give warnings when need be. Look at it, somebody has their walkway or their sidewalk is full of weeds and brush. They're given a 7-day notice to clean it up before they go back there again to fine them. So, it's a give and take. And again, last night's DDS presentation was very informative.
All right. We're joined by Lowell Mayor Dan Rourke, former Lowell Mayor Bill Samaras. They're here talking about last night's Lowell City Council meeting. We've got a couple of other things we want to chat about with the mayor while we have him. Let me just quickly thank our Daily Pulse sponsors, Ray Booten, licensed realtor, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, also a certified appraiser in both of those states. Find them online, realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to our friends at WellPoint. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Washington Savings Bank, banking that feels like home. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, quality and value at every price point. Find your perfect space with TMI. Working on a news story. Somebody did. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. The Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in Greater Lowell through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Francis E. Preventure Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell has counted on since 1982. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Mill City. Yesterday, we recorded our Inside the Pirates podcast with their kicker, Josh Gable. Fascinating dude. Heck of a kicker, too. Check it out on InsideLowell.com. Of course, we'd like you to check out the Daily Pulse. It drops every day at noon. All right, so the big ticket issue, the main event at last night's City Council meeting, there's always one agenda item that captures the discussion and the attention. And this was on a motion, I believe by Councilor Robinson, was it? And Councilor Gitcher to put a residency requirement on any public projects in the city going forward. Tell us what that motion specifically asked for and how that discussion played out last night.
Yeah, so originally the motion was filed to put in a 25% residency requirement for public projects, and they asked for the solicitor's office for an opinion. It came back on Friday, and according to his opinion, the ordinance itself would be unconstitutional and either illegal or unlawful. I forget the actual term that he used. He cited distinct case law that backed up his opinion, and he made a very clear point last night. It was like, look at. I am as pro-resident and pro-Lowell as anybody sitting in this chamber. It was my job to give you the legal answer to the question that was given to me, and he did that. Other cities and towns do have it. The only difference I think in Lowell was that we did have this in place for a certain period of time, maybe back in the 90s, and we were challenged in court. It went all the way to the Massachusetts Supreme Court, and we were told that the similar residency requirement was unconstitutional, and we had to get rid of it.
So the city of Lowell had a residency requirement, 25% or complete?
No, it wasn't complete. No, I forget. Don't quote me on the 25%, but there was a residency requirement in place.
Similar to this.
Correct.
Okay, and now it was highlighted last night that other communities are doing it. Billerica has one, and Boston does it even for private construction. Correct?
According to the some of the speakers, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not doubting them. I did do that. All I care about honestly is the city of Lowell. I think that's what the solicitor was coming from. His point was, why someone hasn't challenged, Lawrence or Billerica or whatnot. It's basically not his problem. He's just giving us the answer of what was asked of him, and in our case, unfortunately, there's distinct case law that Lowell was challenged and we had lost. So, hopefully he can, we asked him for a draft to be put up and go to the AG's office for an opinion. But, we need to try to work it out to get it done right. Because we want to do all this work and then have it shot down the next day. So, it's an interesting discussion. I think that it's, nobody would say we don't want Lowell residents working on jobs. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But we have to do it legally and we have to do it right. And to force it down someone's throat, knowing that it's illegal, I don't think it's the right way to go either. So hopefully we can put something together that that satisfies everybody.
So that's where the discussion started to now spin off into a number of different ways. And one of them was, well, how about instead of the R word requirement, we put in the R word recommendation, which does exist with the current Lowell High project.
Yes, correct. Yep.
Okay.
I think we're almost at 10% for Lowell High.
Nobody's challenged that, and is there any case law regarding the word recommendation versus requirement?
I think it was Councilor Yem, the vice mayor, asked the solicitor that last night. Can we put that into effect? And the solicitor said yes, that would be legal to do. I know a couple of other Councilor Janess brought that up too. Is there a way we can figure something out? Councilor 𝐿𝐥𝐥 even brought it up too. Talking about, let's go to the AG, see what they say. Maybe the solicitor's office and the AG can go back and forth to work on something that would be legal. So we're not voting to put the ordinance in place as of yet. We're just looking for a draft, and hopefully something gets worked out. I filed the exact same motion in 2014, 2015, and the solicitor back then gave us a very similar response that it's unconstitutional. And
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah.
I mean,
You were on that council.
I was on that council, and we were looking for it, and it was to demand it. No. But as a recommendation, recommendation was always the way.
Even back then, I was looking. I filed a similar motion that all Lowell employees should live in the city too. And that was shot down rather quickly.
Yeah,
that didn't go as far as I thought. But,
a lot of in your first couple of years on the council, a lot of your motions get shot.
Aim high, man. Aim high.
Your batting average is much better when you have the gavel in your hand. So the good news on this is that there are so many public projects coming up in Lowell that you can see people maneuvering to try to create good paying jobs for Lowell residents. Bill, it was pointed out that Billerica hasn't had any projects, right, since they.
I'm not sure if they had any. I know they're going to be doing some work, I believe, along Route 3, so maybe that would come into place. But even in Lowell, I mean, the high school is a public project. Whether we get into to paving or how deep we're going to dive into it. But I think if we sell a piece of land to some out of construction and he's going to put up a 5-10 story building, that wouldn't be a public project. But look, there's nobody that would say it's not a great idea. It's the more we can put our residents to work, fantastic, right? But again, we have to do it legally. We can't set the city up to be sued and incur all kinds of costs. So,
but sometimes the talk is, and I know in some of the smaller towns, what have you, they just do it and say, well, let them sue us. But that's easy enough to say. But once you're going into court, it costs the city money, and you're going to lose.
Yeah, and up to nothing. We had a public meeting last night with a public response to the motion, which our solicitor that we sent it to said. Yeah. It's unconstitutional and it's basically illegal. So, if we do go through with this and force it down, the city's throat, what kind of, where does that put us in a lawsuit where, they say, hey, this council did this knowing that they were told that it's unconstitutional. So,
well, if I was following the meeting correctly, and admittedly I was playing catch with my son with one earbud in to listen to you guys, but it almost seemed like the will of the council was like, put it in, and if we get sued and lose, then we take it back out. I think I actually heard words to that effect, if I can paraphrase.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be the most prudent decision to make, to say, just do it knowing that it's illegal. If we get an opinion come back from a different, source, whether it be the Attorney General or the courts that, and says, yes, we can do it now, things have changed, great. But, case law doesn't happen overnight. When cases go to the Supreme Court, those take years to go through the channels in the process. And when case law is made, that's what the law is. So just because it's 10 years old, 20 years old, doesn't mean it's not the law. Mm-hmm. So that's where we're at. And I think unfortunately for Lowell, we were in that position. We were sued and we lost it. So I think everybody would want. I think one of the quotes last night was, "Let's find a way to get to yes," and hopefully that could happen, because I think it'd be a very difficult position for the council to be put in to vote on something that we have been told is unconstitutional.
Right. I want to hone in on the requirement versus recommendation, because requirement makes it the law of the city of Lowell that you have to give 25% of these positions to Lowellians. It's been a recommendation at Lowell High, the Lowell High project. Have they met that 25%?
They're right below 10%. It was said last night to me, right below 10%.
They're below 10%, so they're nowhere near the 25. No. Yeah, it was. Is there any thought that if it was a requirement, they could get to the 25, or are there simply not enough qualified people in Lowell to do a $400 million project? Sorry, I had to throw that in. That's my Lowell High dig at you for the show today. But are there?
What a surprise!
I know there's a lot of qualified people. There's tradesmen and worker, but is there enough to make 25% of a workforce in a $400 million project, or some of the giant things we're about to see coming down the pipeline?
That I do not know, but there will be provisions in place if 25% can't be made. And I forget who spoke on it last night, but what if that exact scenario came up? And that would be the answer that the solicitor and the manager would have to get for us. We don't want to set up the city for failure in any way. The next 5 to 6 years, I think we're going to see booming construction all over the place, whether it be housing or businesses, commercial buildings coming into effect. So we don't want to impede that as well. But at the same time, as you heard last night, we want our residents to to work and to benefit off of the opportunities that are before us. So,
but did they also talk about the apprentice programs?
I know that's that
expand them
also
because that's where you're going to get the workers.
Right. Yeah, and that's an effect. That's an effect as well over at the high school and other projects. And I think that's the key part of it, right? Because you want to get people in there to learn a trade, so to earn to have a living. And become part of the workforce, and that's nothing about the ordinance itself is bad except for it being illegal. So it's just I mean it's just
minor detail,
right? Yeah. So it is what it is, and hopefully we can come to some sort of consensus about it. But again, just to put the exact same ordinance in place that we already been told that's unconstitutional, illegal. Again, I don't think it would be the correct move.
But I think the solicitor did a good job explaining it back to the city council.
He had the facts. I mean, he was just and again, you heard him take his own personal point of privilege to say, it doesn't make me happy to tell you this. You told me, you gave me a task to do, and I answered to the best of my abilities. And he's our solicitor, so it is what it is. And I said, the hope I think going forward would be we find a way to get something done.
All right.
Correct.
God's backyard. By the way, is that in Pawtucketville or in Centerville?
I know. Yeah.
Or is it in Belvedere?
Well, if there are gates, it's Belvedere, right? It's right. Yeah, that's right.
So there's been a lot of talk since last week's meeting and that discussion on the council floor. We will actually have State Rep Tara Hong is going to join us next, I believe next Wednesday, on the Daily Pulse. So that's your guest for us. So he's going to give us kind of his take on it. To me, this is all about this discussion about affordable housing, and whether it's ADUs or God's backyard or the elimination of single family housing and zoning, and all these discussions go back to this affordable housing discussion. And one of the things that bothers me, Mr. Mayor, as we have it, and Mr. Former Mayor, what makes Lowell think that any housing that it builds or adds is actually going to be affordable, short of the ADUs, which might just be affordable housing? You might be able to rent an ADU for a very small amount, but any unit with one bedroom, the necessary fire escapes, the necessary fire suppression systems, the necessary HVAC and whatever, and all these other requirements we're going to throw in there that Massachusetts does. How do you build affordable housing?
Yeah, well, I think you've seen it in the city. Just recently, it was a year or two ago, the Gene Dock building over on Merrimack Street, where the credit union used to be. That's income limit housing. I think, there's a nice, very beautiful condos, and, the cap, I think, is maybe $300,000, and you can only make a certain amount of money to get in there, and you can't resell it for, $600,000, which will probably go for in reality. So those are the kind of things that you think you look for. You look for people that are employed, that are working, and that need a start. I think the days of, April and I being 21 years old and buying our first house for $160,000, maybe your first house that you bought, Teddy, up in the Highlands was what? You know what I mean? $100,000. Yeah.
How about 30?
Yeah,
My father paid more for his Lincoln Continental in the '80s than he did for his house in '71.
Yeah, I mean, and it's all relative. I remember, telling my grandmother when, April and I first, bought our house, and we paid $181,000. I mean, she almost fell off her chair, right? So it's like, I spent $3,000 in my home in the acre. So it is all relative. But at the same time, when you have a kid just out of college or getting out of high school and going to work full time, when a one bedroom was $2,300, that hinders it, right? And I think that, housing is, I think everyone agrees, probably one of the biggest issues that we have, not only in the city but in the state. I think that the proposal that was before us last week was a little extreme. When you're talking about 30 units on an acre of land and no parking requirements, I mean, that's something that, I think the reasons why we voted the way we did is because it's stuff like that. And that's just, I think it's the way that the council as a whole felt, all while knowing that housing is a serious issue.
But there's another issue, simply construction costs. I see that as the biggest problem that you have to overcome, because even if I desire to put in, I have to make sure I can get the credits, all of those things to make it work. And it's just, I don't think it's that available today.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely, it's a process that goes through.
So.
We do have, partners within the city, Merrimack Valley Housing Partnership and other organizations that, they teach, about mortgages and home loans and interest rates. And if you complete those classes, you can get a $5,000, stipend, or, that can help you with your down payment or your closing costs or something like that, right? So, we do a bunch of different things to try to assist those that because we want to have housing. And again, when I got out of college, making what I was making, I couldn't afford a house right now in the city of Lowell. It's just the reality of what we're dealing with right now. And, it's an issue that, who knows when it gets, turned around. I mean, I guess the idea would be, to have enough housing where rents would be, maybe more manageable. But I see it all the time. I mean, some of these places are, for a 2-bedroom in Pawtuckaville over at, I believe at Riverview, those 2 buildings there, it's like $3,200. You know what I mean? So it's a lot.
But look, even the 1-bedroom for $1,600 or $1,800, for those who are clamoring for affordable housing because they say they can't afford it, that's a lot of money. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to make, is ultimately it's supply and demand. If you have X number of people looking for affordable housing, but your supply is Y minus what you need to get to that amount, you're never gonna get there.
Well, I think so. One of our big goals we talk about all the time is you can go from K through your PhD all in the city of Lowell, right? So when someone gets out of the University of Massachusetts at Lowell, and they're looking to settle or to buy their first place, are they going to New Hampshire because rents are half the price as they are in Lowell, right? So how do you combat that? How do you mediate that? And that's where I think lies the main issue with the housing problem, and that's where you see all these initiatives that come into place, and sometimes you see bills like this that are put forward. But again, it's a give and take, and I think that for the most part that was a little bit of a stretch.
But it's workforce housing that is what you'd want, because ultimately you want to create enough good paying jobs, and I think the university is in the process of doing that. So now you want those people to be able to afford to stay here. But the people screaming the loudest about affordable housing, they're going and pointing to the encampments and saying, well, we gotta find affordable housing. That's why they're living on the street, because there's not enough affordable housing. Even if you build enough apartments for $1,600, $1,800 or whatever, the folks living on the encampments can't afford that.
Right, enough for nothing. And again, my in dealing with that, with the homeless, my experiences has been that that's where they want to live. They don't want assistance, and again, that's their own personal decision. And so to your point, I guess would be, you can build them a condo or a house, and chances are they may, stay out on the street than go into a place where you can get cleaned up, you can get medically checked out, you can get some some counseling and some rehabilitation. But again, you have to want it, and you have to be willing to put yourself through it to find yourself in a better place. And for some reason, some people just didn't want that.
So to that end, last night a discussion evolved around the Freeman Trail, which apparently we made such a big deal about the fact they were extending it in Lowell. I think Kevin Murphy was the manager at the time, right?
Correct.
Going down to like the Jarvis Auto
Right.
Group, and so now it's connected all the way out through Chelmsford and every community out to the west. And now
There was a lot of discussion over that.
and now it
if you
seems they've
recall.
taken over that. Michaela, the hyphen, likes to go for a walk or a jog around there. She said she was appalled at both the Lowell and Chelmsford side of it, the discussion of which came up last night. And it's amazing to me that there's a certain number of people, I believe it's a very tiny minority, but they make so much noise over a even tinier number of people that are basically kind of destroying the quality of life and all the good investments that communities like Lowell, like Chelmsford, and like the state of Massachusetts are making over there at Sheehy Park and other places. It's like, I admire this council for standing up to it, because I think in the past, no disrespect, but I think there's been some councils that have kind of kowtowed to this advocacy, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think the council as a whole, ever since we went to districts, has really railed against this and has pushed the manager into making necessary changes, whether through ordinances, resources, programming, the use of ARPA money, the use of city funds to assist. And that's what we always do. We always look to assist first. If you want help, you need help, please let us help you. And when that's turned away, we give proper notice that we're going to clear you out. We're going to go from there, and the Freeman Trail is no different. Especially where it starts or at the movie theater and heading up. I think the assistant city manager Sean Machado said last night that they're meeting with the state today at the place to get some action there. So it's something that just didn't happen overnight. I guess there was a boat off the Freedom Trail. So I mean, it's just my question was, ask them how they got it there. Right? I mean, it's unbelievable. And you see pictures of it. And it's filthy. So, I mean, you have to take in the public safety. You have to take in the quality of life, that people that use it for the right reasons, that they want to be there. And, they are there. They go there, willingly with their families. So that's where we're at with that. And hopefully we get
But there's no evil intent by the city.
Right. But we
cause
ask,
harm.
we go, the co-op and police and fire, and, we are there constantly in all these different encampments asking people, do you want help? And if the answer is no, then all right, we put up flyers, we give proper notice, we follow the ordinance that's been put in place by this council, and if it's not there, I'm sorry, you have to go somewhere else.
All righty, last issue, Cawley Stadium improvements. Matt LaLatcher sat here last week, and I know the two of you kind of became the odd couple on this. You as counselors, you kind of joined forces here to try to bring that facility up to the standards where it could be a source of pride again for the community.
Yeah, when this first started, I talked to Matt, and I talked to Noel Gregan and a couple of different other people. And, the idea was up to, to call, Mayor Samaras, and I dialed 7 numbers and 6 numbers. The last number I was really debating it. Do I really want to do this? But in all honesty,
But he did.
Bill coming aboard really helped solidify a lot of things in regards to, the Cawley project, and maybe on a broader sense, realizing that the location debate has been decided, and now looking to betterment of the park itself, because
But Danny had the vision. Do you know what I mean? He said, okay, there were issues over the high school, what have you, but the issue that Danny brought up was, what's more important is what do we do for the students right now, and how do we make it happen? So
it's all the names of the people that have been involved in everything. Like Mike Kunzler and Brian Chapman, Mike Galvin, all these people that all they want is what's best for the city of Lowell, right? Regardless of anything else. Bill's connections, with people, with some donors that could really help out in the future was invaluable, and that's where we're at now. The work that Matt has done. Reaching out and Pat Ty and all like the work that's been put into place. You're going to see the benefits of it. We like to see it done overnight, but obviously, it takes time to raise this kind of money. Congresswoman Trahan has been great. She has got us money as well. The city has put money into it. So, he's close. I know he's excited about it, and it's going to be great. We've had renderings in the past, and we asked for another one last night, I think it was Council Belanger's motion response that came through. So we're looking forward to seeing that, and it's going to be. I know Bill's seen it in the past. It's going to be awesome.
So that's what I want to talk about. Matt's optimism took me aback a little bit last week when he sat in here, because when we've talked in the most recent weeks, and you said, the building that new facility, the training facility with the classrooms and the locker rooms, all that's doable. We talked about a $9, I think with Councilor Noon, right? $9 or $10 million project. But you expressed skepticism that the $27 million to kind of completely rebuild that stadium and restore the facade, but then rebuild the stands and whatnot. Everybody kind of said, yeah, that may be a pipe dream. Matt said, oh no, it was never that's the goal. We're going to that.
It was never a pipe dream, but the thing is, what Danny did, by inviting so many different sides into the picture, everybody became part of it. But the thing is, he's been able to put the plan together and show everybody, what can really happen. And the thing is, you make believers out of everybody. Once you've done that, you have success. You got to have people wanting to see it happen. And right now, I think the council as a whole, as they look at it, will want to see it.
Yeah, because it's a benefit to the entire city.
A true benefit.
Yeah, it's youth organizations play there. High schools, obviously the students play there as well. And the ability to have state and regional tournaments at the facility is going to be such a huge benefit. The parking lot is going to be redone. Which has been, that's like, a roller coaster ride every time you go through it, right? But that's going to be taken care of. We're going to have trees and put in place, walking trails. So it's going to be wonderful. And, all the credit in the world to Matt, and his team that has really taken this, from Bill and I, and have run with it. They have made connections. They have reached out to people. It's going to be a crown jewel of the city when it's complete.
I'm going to tell you something. It'll make a lot of money. The MIAA does some of the sports in Lowell, but you complete that, it's a natural. And you will see a lot of people coming in from the outside to enjoy championship games in Lowell. But the thing is, they'll have proper parking, a stadium that works, and the revenue that the city can get from that. I think it's outstanding.
Yeah, and there's
the potential is great.
There's a path to get it done through private donations. Then you also kind of, if you have to do some lending, you figure the revenue that comes in from state tournaments. They used to host high school football tournaments all the time there. I don't think they have in many years. But ultimately, the city's going to have to make a commitment. Sure. And whether the city gets the money from Congresswoman Trahan's office or from Governor Healy's office or from Lord knows where, the city's going to have to commit funds. How far are you as a councilor, as the mayor, and because Matt's saying he thinks it's imminent in having to make this decision.
Yeah, so we already have funds in the capital plan. I want to say those probably start with Mayor Donahue. That she had put funds into it, and the manager Golden has added to that. So that money is already there.
That's for the smaller, the first goal, right? The $10 million goal.
Correct, right? And I think I want to quote me tell me if I'm wrong, but I want to say Coach Trahan get over $3 million. I think for the project as well. I know that the state delegation is working on some additional monies coming in, and I think through some private donors as well. I share Matt's optimism with being able to fund the project fully. There's going to be a field house. There's going to be turf practice field that can be used here. I mean, it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be accessible for boys sports, girls sports. You have adult league football that goes in there once in a while, right? The semi-pro team that's there.
The Nor'easters had played many games there.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that can be utilized once it's done, and again, it's going to be a show off for the city.
All right. So before we let him go, you did the job he's doing.
But
not the council, the mayor.
But he's doing a better. But he's doing a better job.
Grade him.
And the thing is, his meetings are a lot shorter than mine were.
What's he,
Mine went past the witchy now.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
there are even votes to go past 10.
and look, the last term, everybody loved Mayor 𝐂𝐤𝐥𝐿, but the meetings we kept having discussions about whether to extend the 10 o'clock deadline. But
the thing is, he's made it very businesslike. But, being mayor, it is an honor in the city. There's no question about that. But the thing is, it also has a lot of power that goes with it, because the thing is, you're the chair of the city council, of the school committee. But what have you been able to do you think, that's made it really worthwhile?
Yeah, I think
The certain things,
Yeah.
because you're putting in a lot of hours. You're working for 50 cents an hour.
Yeah, so I think, obviously, I think one of the bigger things that we talked about before, not necessarily today, but the front runner city status. For Lowell, going to be the first United States city to be part of to become a front runner city, which opens us up to billions of dollars of investment coming in. But even when you get into the just the city centric part of it, very proud that we found our school superintendent. We took care of all our teacher negotiations. All unions are taken care of now for the next 3 years. We have, Liam has put his team in place. We've gotten contracts done on that side. On the city side, we've done the same thing. With finding people to do the jobs, right? And we just extended the manager. This council and this school committee, they should be proud of themselves for the place that they've put Lowell, going forward in the future. And I've used the term before. Long-term stability, I think, is very important on both sides of the city, school and the council side, and I think you see that in place. And we get all these things that have been done. I would hope that members of the school committee and members of the council are just as proud as I am of what we have accomplished. The only difference between me and a councilor or me and a member of the school committee is, I say welcome and I say adjourn. So, a lot of the credit goes to all of them.
But you, when you were mayor, you got some criticism at times for being a little too "quote unquote" heavy-handed with the gavel.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. You weren't heavy-handed enough to get them out of there at a reasonable hour. You haven't used that gavel very well. You've tossed. I remember one night you famously tossed. You gave the hand signal to get an officer get her out of here.
No, that was Officer Siops who did his job that night. It was that was a contentious meeting, but no, look, it's very important to give all councilors the proper forum to state their case, state their opinion, and I feel very proud to have done that, continue to do so. Members of the public as well, they get their chance to come and speak when need be, and I think it's the meetings are running. Not compare myself to anybody else. Like Bill said, it's a business-like manner. We are there to get the city's work done. With 11 councilors now, there's more motions, there's more motion responses, more information reports. So no one's there to lollygag and to hang around. We're there to do the work of the people. And again, both on the school side and the city side, I'm very confident and happy with the job that's been done.
But also that you mentioned that it's not just a ceremonial role as everybody thought about. There's a certain and I think with each mayor coming forward, we're seeing more power in it.
Don't forget, I was in court with the district, issue there, and we had the issue with the superintendent. That created a different type of atmosphere, and it's important. What he's bringing up is that their atmosphere now, they've brought it together. There is stability in the school department. There is stability in the city part. So the thing is, it works.
Yeah. I can promise you, I'm not going to sue the city as a mayor, Teddy. All right? So yeah.
Well, but interesting. The one thing that struck me is how you've realized that there is a certain power in being the mayor and in bringing people together and bringing a coalition together, and you've used it. And I go back to that ADU debate when it was a 7-4 vote the whole time to vote ADUs in. But Mayor Chow never actually called for the vote. There was always some effort to, I'll say it, stall the process. And suddenly a neighborhood woke up and swung the process completely the other way. Whatever the issue has been, you have, when the issue comes up, people state their opinion, and then the vote is taken. And especially when you have you've had the votes, you've made sure the vote gets taken, and then you move on to the next controversy.
Well, it's proper government. It's just, everybody gets their chance to speak their mind, and, yay and nay, it's fine. I don't think anybody has a problem with, stating their case, especially with these councilors, some more than others, but it's I hope that people think that it's as well run as I think it is. and continue to do so until next few months.
Next couple of years,
Yeah.
or next few months.
Next few
Everybody that comes in and sits in here, like all my batch guests and that stuff. And Leslie Boda keeps talking about another 2 years. Are you interested?
And I'm interested in this election and getting the work done that while I'm as the mayor currently, and
What if you run unopposed again and
from
you don't
there.
really have to worry about the election?
we'll always worry about an election. We always worry about an election. So yeah.
That's the way you have to run and be successful.
All right, Mayor Dan Rourke, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Tate.
Good luck
Mr. Mayor,
going
thank you,
forward.
Hey, Mr. Mayor.
Former Mayor Samaras, we'll see you next Wednesday. Will you
Yes.
join us in here?
Well, I'll have to think about this. I'm getting very sensitive about some of these
I only took
things.
1 or 2 shots at you today. That wasn't bad at all. Thank you.
It was a good day.
Thank you to Mayor Rourke, former Mayor Samaras, for joining us. Most of all, thank you for joining us as well here on Inside Lowell and the Daily Pulse. As we like to say, Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place. Till next time, everybody stay safe, enjoy the spring weather, and we'll catch you on the other side.